So now that we've looked at the importance of meta ads and compared it to the other social media advertising platforms, we can also see the similarities and once again underscoring the importance that we've just said about the power, the dominance, and also the similarities of meta ads compared to the other ads. And as I've just mentioned, learn meta, and then it should be easier to do the others as well. What we're going to be doing now is moving on to the other big player in the market, or the big player in the market in terms of Google ads. And we're also going to mention YouTube ads as well. So let's take a look. One thing I will mention at this point is when you're advertising on Google or when you're advertising on YouTube, I should say, you do that through Google. It's not two separate entities or anything like that. But the way I do it, I explain it like this. So later on, it will start making more sense. And because of the importance of when people say they're advertising on YouTube and they're advertising on Google, in their mindset, it is two different platforms, even though we're using the same place to advertise it. Okay. So let's have a look at what we're going to go through. And as I mentioned, we're focusing on Google because of its dominance in the market. It's the biggest spending platform in the world based on the data we've seen, and also because it is a market leader when it comes to search as well. So when we come to search, we're not, even though we're talking about search engines generally, we are talking about Google because of the power and the dominance it has. However, as I always do, I caveat that by saying, look at your local market. It is different in some countries, not many, but some countries there is a difference. And obviously, we already know that YouTube is owned by Google. So let's have a look and see if we can make sense of Google ads and give you some insights. First of all, let's look at the different types of ads that we might have seen ourselves. So if I typed in here, which is the best pram, you can see here it says sponsored in the red, and you can see here on the right, anything that's highlighted in red or circled in red is a sponsored ad, which means it's a paid for advertisement. So as we've discussed in SEO, when we're talking about SEO, search engine optimization, improving our position on Google, we're not talking about any of these yet. So these are adverts. The one that we're talking about is this. So this link here where it says the 7 best landing pages in 2023, this is done by organic SEO. So who's at the top of Google? This one here. So even though these adverts are appearing here, this is what's at the top of Google. And by paying for adverts, you can appear here. But you can see here clearly it's labeled sponsored, which means it's pay per click. So if I clicked on any of those, went to the website, that company is being charged by Google. Okay, and this one here on the left-hand side, these are called shopping ads. These aren't available for every single or most searches, but it's very, very specific. Well, not very specific. I mean, you do get it. You will get a lot of shopping ads, but what I'm saying, these are slightly different. However, when people click on the shopping ads, the intent for purchasing is higher. Okay, so the click-through rate, the CTR is lower. That means when people see them, there's less people clicking on it. But when they do, they've got a higher intent on actually making a purchase than they do on a traditional text ad. So these are the traditional text or search ads, and these ones when we refer to as shopping ads. And just while we're on this, you can see here this one here. So that would be the first in the organic results. So you can see here next to the Telegraph, there's no sponsored sign. So this is number one on Google when it comes to this long tail keyword. So other types of ads on Google. So if I'm looking for a plumber, so Google has worked out I need someone who's going to be close to me. There's no point me being in the UK and looking for a plumber in America. So it's going to look at where your location is. So you can see here, plumber in the area I live in, but sponsored. So you can see that this is being paid for by the person. The second one isn't, but this first one to get on top of Google, they paid, well, or to get to the top position, they're paid. And these ones again, can you see? Sponsored, sponsored, sponsored. And you can see here, these are sponsored text ads. So you can see when I'm looking for a plumber in near me, this is what's coming up. So people can advertise for it. And then there's also, you can see this green circle here. That is what we can do. So you're not always sending people to your website. So on Google Ads, traditionally, you put your link in, you click the link, and you go to the person's website. However, there are other options. You can go straight to the location. So if you're a new store and you've just opened a new store in your local area, you might want to use the location button. We'll show you more about these later on. But in this case, they're using the call function. And that makes sense because if you're looking for a plumber and you're Googling it, there's a good chance that it may well be an emergency or you actually want to speak to someone. So this is why they put the call to action in. So when you're going on there and you find them, you call and you get straight through to someone. Other ads on Google. So here you can see I've typed in bathroom showroom, and you can see here. See, these are still sponsored, as I've shown you before, sponsored, 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 here in the red circle. However, can you see here? Now it's giving the location. So they've included the location here to say you can come and visit us. So once again, Google gives you this option to highlight certain things. Of course, if I click on here, I'm still going to the website, but this extra bit here, you can click on that and go to the actual location, or you can. So if I'm based here in the Manchester region of the UK, this one in Liverpool, that's quite far from me. It's probably about 40 miles away. However, this one here in Stockport, probably about 15 miles away from me. So it's probably a little bit easier to get to. So you can see the impact the location has, because if I'm reading through this and if I want to buy a bathroom, I maybe want to go and see it. So this is what gives me the option. So once again, it depends on the industry, it depends on what you're selling, it depends on how you're selling it. Because as you can imagine, if I'm buying landing page software, I'm buying that online, and I'm not going to a particular shop to buy a landing page. But when I'm buying a bathroom, yes, that's a physical item, and I want to see that potentially before I buy it. And you can see here some more adverts on the right hand side here. You can see the sponsored, and it's giving you more options. And you can see now there's here the use of pictures once again. These are visual products, so you would probably want to see those. And then just going back to, well, not going back, but showing you another example of it. So once again, these are the shopping ads highlighted in blue. But what I also wanted to show you is extensions. So sometimes when you're typing in, so you can see sponsored. So you can see these are sponsored shopping ads, and this one here is sponsored. So this is a sponsored ad. But can you see here, this red one? These are extensions you can add. So I'm going to show you about those again later. So these are sponsored, these are extensions that you can add to sponsored ads. And you can see it's quite cleverly done, isn't it? Because here the main advert just says bathroom suite sale, next day delivery, and they've given a bit of a description. If it just ended there, that's that give you an idea. But what they've done is they've used the opportunity to add these extensions, complete suites from 269, toilet and basin for 149, modern suites 149. So not just telling me it's next day delivery, they've used the opportunity to give me even more information. So what I'm going to show you now is what it looks like when you go to the Google ad platform. What I would also say is at this point, I always make sure I'm logged into everything. So I'm logged into Facebook, I'm logged into Meta, I'm logged into Google. So when I want to go on something, I'm not having to remember my passwords. So if you're logged into Google and you want to go into your Google account, it's quite easy, isn't it? So that makes things a little bit easier. So when you go to Google Ads, you would initially go to, I'd just go to Google, type in Google Ads, and then get to a point where I can log into it. I'm going to show you that in the demo later on, so don't worry about it just yet. So you can see here, when you have an objective, like how we do at the start of the meta advertising, the raising awareness, the traffic, and these different options. Here you have a similar one. What I do is I recommend you click on this one here, create a campaign without goals guidance. This gives you the most options and gives you a chance to build on it, where these ones are a bit more rigid and you can only select what you want to. So what I usually say is go with this one first and then take it from there. Once you've done that, then you get the option of the type of ads to select. We're going to go through these later on, so don't worry about it just yet. This one is the one that we're doing, the one that we will use. Search ads. These are the different types of ads here. You can see the shopping ads we've talked about, and these ones here we're going to touch on later, tell you a little bit more about them. And video ads, obviously that's YouTube advertising. So the ones that we're going to be focusing on is search and video ads, but I'm also going to tell you about these and then the impact it has on Google. I'll just tell you a little bit more about them and what they do. So let's have a look at what they mean. So we've just had a look at the different types of ads as you've seen on the last couple of slides. And here's a couple more variations and a very brief explanation about them. The search ads, which we saw in this top left corner here, the search ads, these are the regular text ads that you see, so the responsive search ads appearing on the SERP based on keywords. Do you remember what SERP stands for? SERP, search engine results page. Okay, so that's search engine results page. Then you've got Performance Max. Once again, I'm just going through these. These are the type of ads. What would also say is Google's always experimenting with these. So sometimes they'll change the name or sometimes they'll make amendments, a bit like our Meta do as well. But as I mentioned, don't see this as a bad thing. This is a good thing because it means it keeps us in work and means if it's always changing, then business owners and work and yeah, basically business owners and people who need this type of service need our services because they can't just learn it once and then just get on with it. So Performance Max, basically with this, Google will show your ads across the whole network, and you will have to upload assets for Google to use in all areas, and they use AI to do this. So it'll go on Google Ads. I mean, it'll go on Google Search. It'll go on YouTube. It'll go on Gmail. It'll go on the Google Search, Google Display Network. Go on basically anywhere that Google can advertise it, they will advertise it. What I would say with this one is you probably need a big budget to do it. And it's a bit of a let's see what happens. Display ads. This is more for brand awareness, and you'll see this on your ad, and it says partner websites, which basically means maybe it could be on the apps, maybe it could be on other ones, and this is called the Google Display Network. Meta have it as well. They have the Meta Audience Network, so it won't appear on Google search like the when you go into Google and Google something, it won't appear there. It'll appear on third-party websites basically. Shopping, as I mentioned, is Google Shopping, low click-through rate but higher intent. Video is obviously YouTube ads, which we're going to cover later on. App, when you want to drive app downloads, I think I've seen a lot on Amazon Prime, not for the Prime, but for the music. But I think if you have Prime, they give you this free music app, but no one seems to want to use it, or it doesn't feel like people do, according to the number of adverts I've seen. Then you have Google Smart Ads. So you provide the description and business details, and Google shows it to the relevant audiences on the right platform when your audience is looking for it. And once again, there's a use of AI here. Demand gen, which previously was known as discovery ads. So YouTube, Gmail, Discovery on Android by uploading assets and using machine learning. Don't use unless you have conversion data. So basically, if you've got information from previous campaigns, then it's worth using that. And then we have dynamic search ads. But it is basically like search ads, but it uses the data on your website rather than keywords to create the search ad. You just write the description. But don't worry, I'm going to go through these very, very shortly. This is just to give you an overview of the different types of ads. So Google search ads, this is what we talk about Google search ads. You go onto the search page, you type in what you're looking for, and the ad turns up. That's simple, Google search ads. Google Performance Max ads. So as I mentioned before, Google Performance Max ads, you see across different platforms. So they're putting it basically everywhere. So it's going to cost you more because it's going into more areas, but it might be a good thing to use because if you're not sure, well, which customers shall I go, where will our customers be? And if you want Google to basically do some work for you to find out, because you might put it on there and you might have some real good conversions. But once again, this is called Google Performance Max ads. Google Display ads. So you can see here the difference. So I've given you two. So the Google Search Network, which we've just looked at, advertisers we get targeting keywords and ads that are shown on the search engine results page. Best for leads and conversions and captures high intent. So that's obviously talking about this. When you compare the display network, advertise target audiences, topics and pages as shown on relevant websites. So it's best for brand awareness. So you're not going to use display network to make a conversion. It's basically, as it says, that indirect is, like according to this graphic from WordStream, indirectly influences other campaign performance. So, do you know, if you saw an advertisement somewhere and thought, oh, that's interesting, and then you saw it somewhere else, so it's basically what I would, or what I suppose what the industry might refer to as assisted conversions. So even though you didn't buy it from there, maybe because you've seen it, it helps. And one way to think about this is when you're walking down the street and see a billboard on the street, or yeah, like I say, a big billboard advertising a product. You're not, well, we're not going to buy anything from the billboard, not yet anyway, maybe in the future, but you're not going to buy it from the billboard. But later on that day, if you're going through Facebook or Google, well, if you're on Facebook and you're scrolling through and see a similar advert for the same product, it creates a familiarity. In marketing terms, we call this a touch point. So these display networks, they act as touch points. Remember the example I gave you when I said that if someone just walks up to you and tries to sell you something, it's a bit uncomfortable. So the display network is another touch point. So you might say, oh yeah, I recognize that brand. Oh, I've heard of that. It's because you've seen the advert elsewhere. So the display network would be examples like here on the right-hand side, where advertisements are on different websites or maybe on publications. And basically they're there just to give people once again, it's there as an advert, but as I mentioned, it's not really something you'd say is a conversion related ad. You're aiming there to raise awareness. If you get conversions, great, but from my experience from running these type of adverts, they're more for brand awareness. And that's what the industry would tell you as well. Google shopping ads, we've already mentioned, but they appear at the top. And as we mentioned, lower click-through rate, but higher intent. And by higher intent, it means that once they do, if people do click on it, there's a bigger chance they'll actually buy something. Google YouTube ads. So obviously we don't need to, without stating the obvious, we're going to go through YouTube later on. But if you're going on YouTube, you can see here where it says sponsored, the red circles. You can see all these on YouTube where you see these different things. So you may have performed a search and this bit of information's come up there, but look, sponsored. So basically, anywhere you see the sponsored sign, you know it's an ad on YouTube rather than just something you found. Where this one here underneath, see, someone I've typed in a best sports car, and this advert's come up, and this advert's come up, well, and this has come up. This is the first one here is an advert. The second one is it's an organic result. So when I've typed in the best sports car, that's the result that's come up. But this advert's appeared there. But you can see, cleverly done. And you could argue that it looks very similar to a normal search. Google Smart Ads. So Smart Ads, they use search, they use display, they use YouTube, and they use Gmail. And what I would say is in terms of performance max, smart ads and discovery, and there's a lot of amendments is the wrong word, but there's I think in the last year I know of at least one or two occasions where Google have changed the name, and I think it will continue to happen. But I think they're just experimenting it to make it easier for the end user. So do you know the like almost a bit like a boost button on Facebook, you know, they tempt you into it. So I'm not a big fan of these because I've done the research myself. And as we've shown in this course, we've done the research, we know what the customers want, we know what they're looking for. So we don't need this broad approach because we should be a bit more targeted, but it does give you the option. Google demand gen ads. So these are in YouTube, in Gmail, in in the YouTube in feed, YouTube Shorts, Discovery. So, but this though, remember, conversion data is needed for it to work. You can't just run this. You need to have some data already. So basically, if you've already run different types of YouTube ads before, then you would use this one because then Google can use that data. Well, Google will use machine learning, will use AI to see what your previous results were, where the customers came from for previous results. And then when you create these Google demand gen ads, that it will basically base it on those previous results. Okay. And then finally, we're going to just look at the Google dynamic search ads. So these ones are like normal search ads, but they're slightly different. So how dynamic search ads work? So let's take a look. Number one, Google will crawl your site and see what's on there content-wise. Secondly, the user searches for something on Google, and then Google will match up what's on your website, what's in the query, and the search engine matches the query to a page on the site. Then what happens is DSA then creates is automatically created with tailored ad copy. I don't know if I know if I described that well, but I'll try to do it in my own words if you like. So basically, you tell Google what the website is. So that dynamically selected landing page, basically, you've told Google what the page is. The headline, Google will then generate the headline based on your landing page information. So if the information on your landing page is good, and in this case, when we're talking landing page, we mean the place where the customer is going to land. It could be a landing page, as in what we've described in the previous modules, or it could just be the page that you're going to. And then the display URL, once again, Google will dynamically generate this based on the website address you have. And all you do is you type in the description here. So the key bits of information you've already given. So you can see here is an example of it. The dynamically search created headline, which says here, the website URL here, and then what you type in is over here. So basically, Google's doing most of the work for you. This is very, very dependent on other factors. So if you've got an absolutely top website that's done your keyword research, you've done, once again, going back to the work that we do at the very start, if you've done your market research, competitor analysis, keyword research, and basically you've done all that information, understood the customer better than anyone, you've done all that, then this really could work for you, because if you've got the right information on your web page, then Google is using the AI and machine learning to pick it out. But once again, for this to work really well, it depends if you've done everything else really well as well. Personally, I still like the old traditional search ads because maybe I'm used to using it, or maybe I've just had success from using it. But this just gives you a rounded information of the different types of Google ads. What we're going to focus on now, obviously, is we're going to focus on the search ads. So let's take a look. So search ads, so as we've said before, these are the normal text ads that we see when we search for something. So how do we go about it? Remember the research section? So as I've said earlier, and as I've said many times, the research forms part of the solid foundations that we're building on. I said to you, the start is solid foundations. Once that's done, you can build anything on top, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. When we've done meta advertising, we know we can refer to it. When we're deciding what to put on our website, we can refer to the research. And now when we're doing Google Ads, we can refer to our research. So we will keep going back to it again and again. And this is just another example of that. So you can see what we would have done. We would have done some secondary research, whether it be Google, whether it be Kantar, YouGov, Nielsen, or wherever we've got our information from. We then have that information and we put it onto Google Keyword Planner. This is that Keyword Planner. Once you're on Keyword Planner, remember, it gives us the options, it gives us some recommendations, it tells us how many people are searching for it. Once we've got that information from there, you would take that and put it onto Google Trends. So just to see what's trending, is it going in the right direction? Is it going down? Examples could be things like garden furniture. You might just look over the last few months and think, wow, it's going really well. But you need to look over that 12-month period to see when the peaks and troughs are. Because if the market's just about to go down and you start buying garden furniture or start running adverts, it's not going to work for you. And then based on the trends, we're then highlighting certain topics. Then you take those topics and put them into, remember guys, what do we do with that information? Answer the public, that's right. So we're going to put this into answer the public. So this is a process this is my blueprint to success, basically. This is what I do for everything. Secondary research, keyword planner, Google Trends, answer the public, and then boom, I've got lots of information. I know what people are looking for. I know what the questions are asking for it regarding the context. So I don't just know what they're looking for, I know why they're looking for it. What are the worries? What are the fears? What are the questions they're asking? And this is just an ongoing process. As I've said to you before, this can take to you between about 6 to 8 hours to do. But once you've done it, it's well worth it. And when I'm doing Google Trends, you can see then this option of on this one. I've selected 5 options. Sometimes I do Google Trends about 5 or 6 times because maybe it's a interesting customer and I've maybe about 15, 20 keywords on my shortlist, maybe 30 keywords, maybe not 30, but yeah, maybe I have about 15, 20 keywords. And then I put that information. So I'm going through it until I get to a point where I've got maybe a handful of keywords and I know what to focus on. Okay. So, keywords introduction. So, when we're searching on Google, it's different from when we're doing it on Meta, for example, or not searching. Well, yeah, when we're running ads on Google, it's different to everywhere else because what we're doing is it's more related to keywords. So the user types in what they're looking for, and as I've said here, Google's aim is to help the user find what they're looking for. So the aim is for them to keep coming back to Google, and it's in Google's interest to make sure that they provide the right solutions. So they're not going to run your ad if it's rubbish, basically. And once again, I'm going to go through ad quality and things that come into the position on Google and which position you're on, how do you get to the top position, why you're not getting to the top position. I'm going to discuss all that shortly. As it says, it's in Google's interest to make sure that they're giving the user the right results. So our research will show us which keywords to target, but the question is how precise we should be. So in this process I've just gone through, by the end of it, by the time we get to answer the public, we've got a good idea of what keywords the customers are looking for, both long tail and short tail. So you can see here keywords map types for the keyword furniture store. So let's assume you've typed in, or the user has typed in furniture store. So now, as an advertiser, what are we telling Google to do when someone types in furniture store? So I'll just read through this and then I'll explain it again. So for the keyword furniture store, we can match in the following ways. You can have a broad match where basically you say to Google, I'm looking for furniture store, but on broad match. So what that means is ads may be shown on searches that relate to your keyword. So if someone types in home decor, Google say, well, that's related to furniture store. So if someone types in home decor, we're gonna show your ad. Or if someone types in cream colored leather sectional sort of type of seating, yeah, furniture store, we're going to show them that. So you might be happy with this, you might not be, but as you can imagine, because it's so broad, you're probably going to need a bigger budget because if your ads being shown on a continuous basis, the more your ads shown, the more it's going to cost you basically. Alternatively, you could also use phrase match. So these ads may be shown, ads may show on searches that include the meaning of your keyword. So now, rather than saying relate, we're talking about include. So what was our keyword again? Furniture store. And under phrase match, you'll say cheap furniture stores. Why? Because you can see the word furniture store is there. Living room furniture deals. So now you can see that includes, you can see the word furniture is included in there. What store is blessed? What store is the best place to find bedroom dresser? So so you can see that the word furniture store would be relevant to that. So that is what we call phrase match. But then you might say, well, actually, listen, Google, I've done all my research. I don't want those customers. The ones I want is when they say exactly that, and that is this one. So for exact match, ads may show on searches that are the same meaning as your keyword. So we've gone from related to including to the exact same. Okay, so furniture store, home furniture shop, furnishing shopping. So the same meaning. So if I say furniture store and furniture shop, I basically mean the same thing, don't I? So well, that's what they're saying. So in terms of giving you an overview, the things I'll tell you to consider here is your budget and basically how tight your research is. And obviously the first time you're doing it, if you're doing it the first time, I wouldn't jump straight into exact match. Maybe look at something like phrase match just to get things going because you might get some surprises because you might be other keywords that customers are typing in that actually people want when they come to your store, and your research may not have shown them. So if you'd done the exact match, you wouldn't get to know that. But with phrase match, you'd get that because it means similar meanings, and so it gives you an idea of what keywords that you could include. And what I mean is that, say for example, you use phrase match, and then when you go on to running the advert, you notice something in particular, like maybe if you think of something like a tall lampshade or tall living room lighting, there could be a certain phrase that you have on your website, and that's what's driving the traffic, or the certain products that you sell on your website that's driving the traffic. Had you gone for exact match, you may never have found that out because you've not been broad enough. But with phrase match, it allows you to do that. So if I'm what I would suggest, and like I say, I'm not guaranteeing this or anything, and it's not some money back off or anything, but I'm just sharing the experience and giving you my benefit, yeah, the benefit of my experience. So that's phrase match. That's basically the three different ones, and giving you an overview of them. So as you can see here, the keyword detail. So once again, I'm just kind of giving you a bit of a rounded knowledge of a rounded highlight of this. So the exact keyword matches. So you can see here, this is another example. Shoes for men. So if you typed in for exact match and your keyword was shoes for men, these are the things that would come up. Shoes, men, men's shoe, shoes for men. What it won't show up for is here, men's leather shoes. Because remember, you've said exact shoes for boys. Here for phrase match, you can see by the yellow I've highlighted, it will show up for shoes for tennis, buy tennis shoes on sale. And you can see here the phrase match we've gone for is tennis shoes. So red tennis shoes, comfortable tennis sneakers. So you can see phrase match related. It won't come up for tennis store or shop for sneakers. So you can see this is why I like phrase match, because it's kind of a good halfway house. It's not being too prescriptive where you might miss out on some customers, but it's not been too broad where you might end up losing money. And then the broad match. So you can see here, this one's typed in low carb diet plan. What you're going to come up for: low carb diet, obviously, carb free food, Mediterranean diet books, how to cook carbs, carb free meals. So you can see there is a few things there related to it. But broad match could be good. So say for example, you're new on the market, you have a big budget, and you just want to get the message out there, that might be something you could use. So each of them has their place in terms of your advertising strategy. But once again, it's based on the research you've done, previous results you have or haven't got, and obviously your budget. So there's also something called negative keywords. So as you can imagine, with Google, we're running on keywords. The things that we've just shown in the last few slides are related to keywords. However, sometimes there are keywords that you do not want to be matched for. Once again, as I say here, it's the aim is to avoid irrelevant clicks coming to your website. That's what it's all about. You don't want people coming to your website who have no interest in your website. The aim is you're providing solutions, or you're providing the results to people's searches. So if you're finding if people are coming to your website and thinking, this is not what I was expecting, you don't want them to come to your website. Two reasons. One, it basically it doesn't give you anything useful, because it's basically people just bouncing straight off your page and not spending any time engaging. And two, it's costing you money for no reason, because if people are coming to your website who don't want to be on your website, it's probably going to annoy you more than anything, because they're not going to have a positive vision or thought of your website. Anyway, however, deciding on selecting keywords can be difficult and arduous task, because it's like a lot to think about. But you're keeping an eye on these keywords over time or on a daily basis, just to see what's changing, what's not changing, what we need to include, what we don't need to include. As I say, it can be helped by the use of tools such as Google Keyword Planner, as we've talked about, and seeing if there are any high-ranking search terms for your keywords that contain the terms that can be added to the list of words that you want to exclude. So if you sell high-end and expensive cameras, you may want to add cheap to your negative keywords, because if you're a high-end camera place, you don't want people typing cheap camera for whatever purpose. So the word cheap. So if anybody types in the word cheap, then that search doesn't come for you. So this is why. So you've got to be careful about which negative keywords you pick, But once you do it, it saves you a whole lot of hassle because if, just in the example there, if you've got high-end expensive cameras, if someone's typing in the word cheap, they're not going to be buying your product, are they? So that's the reason. We've seen these previously, but just want to give you a quick bit of a refresher on it and supposed to make it slightly brighter as well. Long tail keywords are basically keywords that have 4 or more words. And remember when we said before, in terms of search volume is higher for the lower. So if you just type in shoes, which is very broad, really, there's not been very, very specific. There's going to be loads of searches for it, loads of websites talking about shoes. You talk about running shoes, still quite a lot, but now we know we're not talking about shoes to wear at a wedding or shoes to wear at work or something. We're talking about running shoes. And then when you become here, and when you come here, it says best running shoes for kids. But can you see the magic here? This green area. Look at that. 70% of traffic. So the longer tail keywords have most of the traffic. So even though the search volume is higher, the actual traffic coming to the page is higher for the long tail keywords. Once again, because if you're looking to buy shoes, you're not really, I mean, if I wanted a picture of some shoes just to have a look at, I'd just type in shoes. But if I'm being specific, if I wrote best running shoes for kids, you can see that he definitely wants to buy something. So there's more chance of me going to that website. So you can see here, this is what you want to be aiming for. There is this terminology here, fathead keywords, middle keywords, long tail keywords. So you can see here, less specific search intent, marketing blog, not very specific. How to set up a marketing blog for free. See, very specific. So you can see what the person's looking for there. But just bear in mind these things because once again, this is what the research is showing you. So now what we're going to talk about is how to set up your Google Ads. This diagram by WordStream, and you can see I've used WordStream a couple of times. It gives a really nice overview of what an ads platform, I mean, a Google Ads platform or the setup of basically your Google Ads is the way I'd like to describe it. So first of all, you have a Google Ads account. So a Google Ads account is one that you would have for yourself, maybe one for a client, maybe you have a couple of businesses yourself. Later on, I'm going to demo it, and on, like I say, I have a little bit of a practice account as well. That's not really up to date, but it's still an ad account that we can use. So first of all, at the top, you have that Google Ads account, the one you can see in black. Underneath that, you have your different campaigns. So maybe you're focusing on one thing and then you're focusing on another thing as well. Within that campaign, you could have different ad groups. Within each ad group, you have keywords related to the ad group. And then you have, like any good advertiser would do, you split test. You have more than one ad. Don't just have one advert. That's not right. Have at least 3 adverts, I would say, per ad group, and then you'd have the page that people are being directed to buy something. So you can see this is the process that you'd go through. Just to help you visualize it a little bit more. So this on the left here is the example we've just seen on the previous slide. So Google's ad account, the campaigns, and this is now giving you what it looks like in reality. So at the top, you would have the company's name. So in this example from WordStream, it's Right Roofing Google Ads account. So imagine you're working for this company you've set up. You could set up for them, or they may already have it set up and give you access, depending on where they are in their journey. So then they'll have 2 things. So this is the roofing company, and the 2 campaigns they want to run is they want to do installations for your they want to do installations for your roofing, and they want to do roofing repairs. Why have they picked those 2? Because they've done their research, they've found out this is what the customers are asking them. Remember before when I said they've done your research and we said we do the secondary research? Along with that secondary, what I would say is, let me just go back to it. So along with this research here that we're talking about, secondary research, you'll have your own internal information as well. So maybe you've done customer surveys, maybe you've done customer feedback, maybe you've got customer complaints. So all this type of research that we've done happens here at this stage. So you would have had good insights about what your customer wants. So now Now you can see that's why they've picked it. So they've picked installations and roofing repairs. So that's the campaign name. So campaign name is installation search, and campaign the other campaign is repairs search. So both are search ads, and both on one's for installations, one's for repairs. Now the ad grouping. So the first one will be roof installations, and the second one is gutter installation. So you can see this is their installation section, and we're saying, right, we're going to run ads for roof installations and gutter installations. So once again, even though it's installations, two different things, aren't they? So the ad groups, as you can see here, one's for roof installations, one's for gutter installations. The keywords for that are different, as you can imagine. So there will be similarities in some places, but mostly if you're looking to install a roof and looking to install guttering, the person's going to be looking for something different. So what you would do is you put your keywords, and we suggest at least 3 to 20 per key per ad group. Then you would have the ad variations. So when we say ad variations, we mean, well, maybe the keywords that you're using within the advert, maybe the way the headlines you're using in the advert. And once again, we're going to go through this later, so don't worry too much about visualizing it just yet. And then obviously you're going to send them to the landing page. And once again, in this case, when we say landing page, this could be a purpose-built landing page for roof installations, or it could be a page on your website that is regarding roof installations as well. So this is the place where we're sending people to. And then the gutter installations will be different, because obviously if I click on roof installations and it starts talking about gutters, it's going to be a bit confusing. Or if I click on gutter installations and you're talking about roofing tiles and slates and things, that's different as well. So remember, keep it different. So you can see that's how the setup is. However, on the other side of things, where they're doing the repairs, very similar, but this time they're focused on repairs. So roof repairs and gutter repairs. So similar ideas, and you can see the keywords they'll have for that, the ad variations for that, and then the landing page for that. So you can see there how the Google Ads account works and the layout of it. So you can see there, this company has got two main areas that they're focusing on. And each of the two areas, they've got the roof or the gutters, and then they've got, so yeah, roof and gutters in both areas, but one's for installations and one's for repairs. And that's how it looks. This is not how it looks on Google. This is the process that you go through, but it gives you visualizes it, and I think it just looks good that way. So, what are the elements of an ad, and what do we need to be thinking about? So, first of all, we can see here, this is a sponsored ad, so we know it's an ad, so circled in red. So, here, this is the company name and the favicon. See this little circle here where it says HP? That is what we call a favicon. The path, this is how the link appears. So here it says hp.com 2-in-1 laptop. So you can see that it doesn't look like a website address. It looks slightly different, just so it stands out a bit. This is the headline. Can you see it's separated by a hyphen there? So this is the headline. This here is the description. So make the everyday easier with Windows 11 and HP Envy. These here are site link assets. And this here, once again, you can see the circle sponsored, and this is an image asset. So you can see these are the different elements of an advert, and this is what goes into it. And shortly, when we're going through it, we'll go through some of these things, and they'll be asking you about these things. So one thing you can do is look at Google Ads Transparency Center. So in the same way that Meta has their own transparency center, Google has one as well. So with Google Ads Transparency Center, basically you can look at other people's adverts, and that's what we're saying. So with Google Ads, so it says whether you're looking for inspiration. I think whenever I say the word inspiration these days, it's me trying to say a polite way of if you're looking to copy people's adverts. And Yeah, I suppose that's a bit of a gray area, but yeah, whether you're looking for inspiration on what to use or know what your competitors are up to, the Google Ads Transparency Center is useful too. It's like the Meta Ads library, but this one's for Google. So basically, you would click on it and you could just type in the company and see what adverts they're running. So just to kind of give you a bit of a summary, or just to give you an example of that. So here, if so, you can see here, I've just opened it up, and it says here, United Kingdom, all formats. So let's just type in Tesco. So there's a supermarket in the UK. Whoops. So Tesco PLC. There we go. So now I've typed in Tesco, and these are all the ads they're running across the Google network in the UK. So this you could do with your competitors, not to copy them or anything, but just to find out what they're doing. What are they doing? What do their ads look like? What customers being inspired by? What customers like to see? And most of all, what are they doing? So you can basically keep an eye on your competitors. So that is an example there of the Google Ads Transparency Center. And you could do that with any company you wish, because as if they're advertising on Google, you'll see it there. And that's the Google Ads Transparency Center. We have the Meta Ads library as well, or formerly known as a Facebook Ads library, which we've already discussed. Another tool that you can use is competitor analysis tools. This is called SpyFu. We pay $6.99 a month for that. I think it's probably about $8.50. So I think it's $8.49. It's a great source to show you keywords, traffic, and ad costs of your competitors. So in the previous slide, when we were talking about Google Ads transparency, you can see the ads. Here, you can see how much traffic they're getting, the keywords they're using, and the cost of their ads. So this is really, really useful. So you can see here, just as a bit of a play around, I've typed in unbounce.com, and you can see it's giving me some information on them. But once again, another good tool. So this would be forming part of that situation analysis that you would have done earlier on. Another tool that you can use is mock-up ads. So if you want to just play around and maybe create some ads on Google, this is what you can use. So before you go to create an ad, using this piece of free software can show you what your ad might look like. So remember, by this stage, you will have already done your research. So you're not just going on there to practice different words. You already know what your keywords are. You know what website you're sending them to. You know what product you're selling. You know everything about your customer and what they're looking for. So, as I mentioned, you understand the audience, know the product, have a clear idea of how we can maximize the click through rate and traffic, and ultimately how we can get the conversions. So, this is called Nordic Click. So Nordic Click basically allows you to go onto this website, and it's basically an ads preview tool for Google. So basically, here on the left-hand side, you can just type in the headlines, the description, and things you need to put in. And here on the right-hand side, it shows you what it looks like. It also has the option to add site links and other things. And you can see here, it even provides you what it would look like on Google search. So it's quite nice because it kind of helps visualize. But sometimes you've done the research and it's just all on a spreadsheet, isn't it, or on a piece of paper, and you want to think, all right, what will it look like? This is just really good. Don't have to log in, don't have to do much with it. Actually, I'll show you actually. Just click on it. Okay. So you can see here Nordic Click, just the example I've shown you. You just type in the website, so you can see here the different headlines. So, and I think so. Let's just try it. So I'm just going to mess about here. I'm just typing a hello, goodbye. So they say hello, goodbye, see you later. See, and you can see it's actually changing in real time, isn't it? Um, And then you can see once again how you want the path to look like. So what do you want your website to look like? So this final URL would be the website page that you're actually going to. But this here, the path, is how you want it to look like to customers or the audience searching. Then you've got the description here. You can type in your description. With the headlines, I think you get up to 30 characters each. With the description, let me just check. Yeah, you get up to 90 characters. So you can just type that in there. And then you can add, maybe you want a call out asset, and maybe add site links as we mentioned. So you can just see, and then you can see the site links that would appear underneath. So that just gives you a bit of an insight. Okay, like I said, I mean, you've got the links, you can have a bit of a play around on it, but it's just to give you a bit of an idea of it. So just so you know it exists. So that is called Nordic Click. Very useful tool, nice to have a bit of play around with. So next thing we're going to be looking at is Google Ads and the CPC, so the cost per click and how it is decided. So as we've said here, or as we've said throughout this, when you're on Google and you've got an advert running, if you click on that link, that company is paying Google because you clicked on the link. And for those who might be thinking, oh God, you could just go to competitors and repeatedly press it and make them charge them money. No, but I think Google understands the IP address you're using. And I'm not to say fake clicks don't happen, but what I'm saying is that Google does have some safeguarding around that to make sure that it doesn't happen. But so, like I said, anyway, I digress. But anyway, so Google Ads, the cost per click and how's it decided? So when you're paying per click, how is that decided? Google Keyword Planner and the Google Ads forecasting tool will give you an idea. So when we've done Keyword Planner in the research stage, remember it gives you an idea of potential costs. So we've already spoke about that. However, there are factors that Google determines, such as quality score and ad rank. And once again, via WordStream, I thought it was a really good way of describing it. So Google Ads quality score, the quality of your ad is based on the following: the user experience. How did the user feel when or what was the user experience when they went to your website? How relevant was it to the keyword they were searching for? And then Google will work out what your expected click-through rate is. How many people did they expect to click on that? But if you imagine, if you someone did a really poor advert with spelling mistakes, the website was rubbish, it wasn't mobile first, you had to pinch and pull it. You can imagine that's not going to have as good as a quality score as a website that has a really good experience, nice website, relevant keywords, exactly what I'm looking for, and that's going to be a higher click-through rate. That then gives you a quality score. So now what we're thinking, the next question is, well, how much can I pay for an ad? So what you can do when it comes to an ad rank, about in terms of where do we rank it and where does it go on the page, this is what determines it. The quality score, which we know how we get now, and that quality score times by the maximum bid. So remember, you could bid, but remember, it's all about quality as well. So you couldn't come along and say, well, I'm going to pay £1,000 a click just to, if you've got unlimited amounts of money, I'm going to do £1,000 a click and just going to run rubbish adverts. Google won't say, well, he's paying £1,000, so her advert's going to go to the top, or his advert's going to go to the top. No, it doesn't look like it doesn't work like that, because Google has an ad ranking system. So, of course, you need to make sure your bid is going to keep you in the picture, or it's almost like an eBay style of bidding, but we're going to show you a bit more about that on the next slide. So, what we're saying is that it's not just about how much money you're paying, it's about the quality of the advert as well. So, the quality of the ad times the maximum bid, that is your ad rank. So, in terms of positioning, let's have a look. As I've said, of course, in most sectors, there are numerous companies running ads on Google. So when you're running ads on Google, it's not just you who's running ads on Google. There's probably many other companies that are doing it. And if you've done your research, which you should have done, you at least know who to expect or what to expect. So here on the left-hand side, it says the ads with the highest ad rank. Remember, the ad rank is the quality score times the maximum bid. The ads here with the highest ad rank scores are the ones that get shown. So now there's a combination of money and quality. The quality score is out of 10. So you can see here, quality score. So you can see Sam, Mary, Jane, and Pat. The quality score on Sam's advert is 10 out of 10. So the maximum bid the Sam has put is $2. So it's 2 times 10 is equal to 20. and that will get that first place on the Google adverts. Mary, whose ad was about 4 out of 10, was prepared to pay more, but it doesn't quite match up. So Google would say 4 times 4 is 16. So you're second on the list. Then Jane comes along, but her ad isn't very good at all. It's only 1 out of 10. But Jane said, well, I'll pay $8 a click. I don't care. So $8 a click, but that doesn't say that you're going to be top. 8 times 1 is 8. Doesn't even figure. Why? Because Pat's advert is only 2 out of 10, but and it's less than 8, so it's only $6, but 6 times 2 is 12. So you can see Jane's advert was only 8. Sam's was top with 20, and that's why Sam appeared at the top. So that's how Google would use it. So remember that quality score and the ad rank. So you can see here, to this sum we've just give you, the quality score, which we know how we get now, the quality score times by the maximum bid equals the ad rank. So quality score times by the bid equals the ad rank, and then that's what determines where you go. In terms of the actual costings, so the cost of the Google click is the ad rank of the ad below yours. So the way I describe, I'll talk you through this and I'll tell you how I look at it. So the ad rank of the ad that is below yours divided by your quality score times by a cent, and that is your cost per click. So it says here, notice how Sam pays less for a higher position due to a higher quality score. Remember what we say here? So Sam is paying less. So have a look at this. So basically, Sam is basically paying less than Mary. So even though Mary is paying more, Pat is paying even more still, but it's about ad rank. So you can see this is what Google is trying to say. We want high quality adverts because our customers are looking for it. And it's not just about the high quality adverts. Remember, how do we get that quality score initially? User experience, keyword, and expected click through rate. Remember what I was saying earlier? Google want you to come to Google. So every time you're looking for something, they don't want you to start going to um, Bing or Yahoo or whatever else it might be. They want you to come to Google. So first of all, they're going to cover their own backs. Google are going to look after themselves to make sure the customer's getting what they want. Of course, they're a company and they're going to make money, but they're not just going to make money just from based on because you're going to pay them. You also have to be providing help. You need to be providing a great service to their customers. So it's a win-win-win. Google are happy because they get paid. The customer is happy because they get what they're looking for, and you're happy because you're making a sale. So everyone wins in that scenario. So that hopefully gives you an idea about how positioning works on Google Ads. And that's what is important because obviously you need to understand how much you're potentially going to pay. This is important because sometimes you'll get a customer and they'll say, well, I sell this product. How much are you going to charge me for Google Ads? Before you even think about giving them a quote, you'll have to do some research on that keyword, go into the keyword, see what the cost of the keyword is, and then at least then you will know. You might be thinking, well, actually, Kaz, I could probably guess how much it is, but no, be careful. Sometimes when things are trending and things are very high, so here in the UK, there was an accident claim thing. I think accident claims and things like PPI. So if someone got involved in a car accident, solicitors would be able to claim on their behalf. And then they had the PPI scandal where banks had not overcharged customers, but they were charging them for something that wasn't a requirement. Anyway, I don't want to get into the legalities of it. What I'm saying is that basically the cost per click for those adverts in some cases went up to like 60 or 90 pounds. So basically almost like $100 a click. So you can see, and the companies were paying that but then they had to make sure the website was absolutely fantastic, the service of the customer was great, and you were providing what the customer wanted. But the point I'm making is, had you just said to your customer, yeah, we'll charge you $500 a month or £400 a month, you would have made a mistake because every click was costing you around $100 a month. So always do your research, not only on the company, but what it's going to cost you as well. So Now we're going to have a look at Google Ads and show you how we're going to get started on it. What I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to show you the slides and then I'm going to do you a demo, okay? So hopefully that gives you an idea. So as I've said before, always make sure you're logged into your accounts. So make sure you're logged into Google and then basically I just go to Google and type in Google Ads. So search on Google Ads, click on the link, and once again, I'll show you this shortly. So you go to Google Ads, click on the link and you'll get here. Then you have two options. You either sign in, which I would do, but I already have an account, or start now. So don't worry if you've never had a Google account before or a Google Ads account before. It's all here to help you. If you haven't had one before, so what would happen is you would click on start now, you would log in with your account. So as it says here, as with other accounts, I always make sure I'm logged in. As I mentioned, you may already have a Google Ads account, and depending on the age of the account, it can determine how much access you have to Google accounts straight away. So as I say, search for Google Ads, select the first organic option. You know what organic is now. Depending on whether you already have an account, determines what option you will have. So if you already, so as we mentioned here, do you have sign in or start now? And then once you sign in and you start, you'll click on, once you create an account, you'll get an option. You'll see this, get more calls, get website visits. Do not do this. Click here, switch to expert mode. This gives you more options and more control. The aim of Google is to make life easier for you. Think of the Facebook boost button. As I say, I never used the boost button, but why do they have the boost button? They want to make advertising easy for people. That's what it is. And same with Google, they want to make advertising easy for you. So you're just basically got four options. So it says, what's your main advertising goal? Click, 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 and then they'll try to sort the rest out for you. But we've done the research. We want the exact figures. We want to get the best bang for our buck. We want to do everything like as marketers, really. So you would switch to expert mode. Once you've done that, you then come to a page and then it'll tell you what you want to do. So this is the main dashboard that you come to. So what you would do is you'll come to this, or you may already have an account, whichever way you will come to this bit. So once you've signed in, you'll come to this bit. And if you've started a new account, first you will click on switch to expert mode, then you will come to this bit. Okay. When you're at this point, you can press new campaign. And once again, like I said to you previously, if you're going to your local shop, you can go through the crossing, you can go on your bike, you can take the shortcut, you can go across the grass, you can go the long way around. The destination is the same. And like with many pieces of software, there's more than one way to get to a destination. So here, I've circled the green one here, new campaign, or you can even tick this button here and the option for new campaign comes up there as well. So once again, there may be different ways of doing this, but don't worry, it'll take you to the same place. So you click here, new campaign. And once again, you might notice slight differences over the years as you would do with Facebook, Meta, and other platforms because things are always evolving and changing. Anyway, so you click new campaign. Once you get to new campaign, remember this screen that I've referred to in the past. What we do here, we select create a campaign without goals guidance, because once again, I want to have more control, so I will select that. Once you've done that, you then select search. Remember, we talked through all these before, the different types of campaigns. And remember, this video one is YouTube. For the time being, we're going to focus on search. So you'd select on that and you'd click on that. Once you've done that, you would then get the option to type in your website page, because generally I've clicked here or I've selected here, I want to get website visits, and this is the website name. And then the campaign name is CAS Test One, because obviously I'm just doing this just to show you. So this is how this is the process that you would go through. Once you've done that, you would go to continue. And obviously on the previous page, once you've selected search, you'd press the blue continue button. Now you would have the option of telling Google what you want to do. So here when it says bidding, there's a drop-down menu. Click on that and it tells you what you want to do. Do you want to aim for conversions? Do you want to aim for clicks? and basically what do you want to do? So generally, I would aim for clicks. So the aim, what I want to focus on is clicks because obviously I'm running adverts on Google, so I want to get people to there first. And then once you've done that, you select next. Now, this is the one where at the early stage, I select both. So here it says campaign settings. To reach the right people, start defining your key settings for your campaign. So the search network, ads can appear near Google search results and other Google sites where people search for terms that are relevant to your keywords. So you could include Google search partners. So if you're saying, no, I just want to be on the Google page, that's it. Untick that box. And same with the display network. Do you know what I mentioned to you earlier? There's a display network where they use third parties. So it says an easy way to get, so I'm reading this here, an easy way to get additional conversions similar or lower cost than your search with unused search budget. Include the Google Display Network. What I do in this first instance, I select both, especially if it's the first time you're using it. If it's the first time you're using it, don't make assumptions about what your customer wants to do. Okay? Because that's not right. Remember, have respect for the customer. So rather than saying, well, that one never works, I heard someone on Google say this, or I heard someone on YouTube say this, respect your customer, see what the customer wants. So, yes, it'll cost you a little bit more, but select both. Then, once you've seen the results of the ad, then you can make future, uh, some not assumptions, then you can make future decisions based on data. Don't just make information based on what somebody said. Make it based on data and have respect for the customer. Anyway, so for initially, I would select both. Then you have the option for location. Do you want to pick all countries? Do you want to pick UK or wherever? Obviously, depending on the country you might be in, it might give you the option of selecting certain areas. So obviously, based on where you're operating and based on where you've done your research and based on what you're aiming to do on your objective, you would then select the country or location. Well, I would say at this point, obviously, don't just run the same advert across many different locations because all customers are different. What people want in the UK might be different from what they want in America. And not just be different, but there'll be different terminology, different wordings, different ways of saying things. So the research you would have done for a UK audience should and will be different from the one that you've done for the American audience. The next stage that you come to, as you scroll down, it'll ask you the language. It's usually by default is set to English. Then you can add audience segments. So audience segments just gives Google an idea of what your audience are interested in, basically. So in this case, I've picked food and dining and it says select an audience to add to your campaign. You can create your new data segments by clicking on new segment. So for this stage here, I've selected food and dining. And then here it says target setting for this observation. So it's narrow the search of your campaign to the selected segments or observation. Don't narrow the search of your campaign with the option to adjust the bits. What we're basically saying here is the same again. We don't know our customers yet. This is the first time we're running it. So rather than just saying, I want to be very specific, this is exactly what I want to do, give yourself a bit of leeway. Like we talked about when we're setting up the keywords, do we go straight for exact match? No, we went for the middle of the road where we went for phrase match. In this way as well, give yourself the option. Remember, you want to learn about your customer and understand them. Now we go to keywords. So what you can do is you'll have your list of your own keywords, but if you want to save time or if you've done some really good work on your own website, you type in here your website. Remember, this is just optional. You don't have to do this. You type in your website and then it will give you your keywords from your website. So Google will basically automatically select your keywords. So it'll give you the list of keywords, then you can have a further look at them. So you can view these keywords and then go through all of them to say which one you want. So to see this here, where we've got let's just go back. You've got these keywords over here. It's asking you the question to view them. You could just apply all automatically, but I would suggest viewing them. So what I generally do is I put my website in, I type in view, I then look at my keyword research, what I've done, and see which ones match up. But it just saves you typing it in. Alternatively, you could just look at your list and copy and paste it. But I just always double check it because it's just good practice. So you would view it, and then once done, the ones that you want to select here. So in this case, you can see I've selected select all, and I've ticked, and then you just do apply now. And while you're doing this on the left hand side on Google Ads, it's showing you where you're going. Remember at the start, we started off with the bidding, campaign settings. Now we're in that keyword area. So it shows you the progress you're making. Okay. Now it's going to give you some bits of information. So the actual ad. So do you remember before when we would have tried it on Nordic Click? So we would have gone to Nordic Click, practiced our ad. So now we've already got a good idea of what we want our ad to look like. So here in this case, I've not filled it in, but I've just wanted to show you. So the final URL, so this is my website address, but these are the keywords I wanted to add into the display path. And then your headlines, you can include that. And then Google gives you an overall rating of how good your advert is. And some people say, I want to make my advert look different, but sometimes that can work against you because on Google search, you're used to seeing things in the search engine. And the aim of running Google ads for me is I don't want it to look like an ad. I want it to look like a result they're looking for or a search result they're looking for. So if you make it look too different, then it just stands out. Like, so why does that look different? Oh, it's an ad. So that's why Google say they'll give you this ad strength rating here and a campaign optimization score, and it gives you an idea of what you've done. So we'll go through these. So as you go through setting up the ad, you'll get this set up here, okay? And it'll give you it will get shaded, and at the end, it'll give you an overall ad score, okay? So and this, you can see the optimization score here. It's giving you potential weekly clicks, giving you the average cost per click and the weekly cost. So can you see this? What I mean by the, so if the customer says to me, Kaz, I've got a budget of £500 to spend on adverts. So then you can see there, this one is going to cost about £450 a week. It's going to give him 5,000 clicks and the average cost is 9p a click. So now based on that, you can make a decision on what you want to charge your client. Are you charging them per week? I mean, usually you charge them per month. So in this case, you can see it's costing around £2,000 a month just for the ads. Based on these figures, once again, um, and so it's just giving you an idea. But don't worry, we're gonna come to ad budgets very shortly. But this is once again just basically letting you know what the potential costs are, so at least you can make the customer aware of it, and you can say, well, it's going to cost you about £2,000 a month, and for that you'll get about 20,000 clicks to your website. That's the cost, and then obviously you'll have your fee as well, whether you charge a setup fee, a monthly management fee, depending. Once again, it depends on the budget. That's why as marketers we ask for a budget. It's not about thinking about, well, how much can we charge them. It's about how much it's going to cost us to advertise for them on Google, for example, because we want to work out the cost per click, etc. Okay, so as you're going through there, you can set up your adverts. So this is the page. As you scroll down the page, you're coming to these sections, and as you're filling them in, it's giving you, it's adding up this score. But once again, as you can see, I've not filled them in. It's giving you things. You can add more headlines because what Google will do is use a combination. So it only uses 3 headlines, but it might say something like, okay, I'm going to use 2 headlines, or I'm going to use these 3 headlines. So if you put in all of them, you put in your different headlines, Google will then work out which order to use and which one's best performing. What I like to do is I like to run more ads rather than increase the headlines. So if I've got more headlines to use, I'll use them on an extra ad. So I'd split test that way. I don't want to put all my information on one because I've done my research, I've done my analysis, and I know that this is the ad that I want to run, but I also want to run a different one. And then once again, in description the same ways. Oops, sorry. Description is the same way. You can put your description in, but once again, the description are based on your research, your data analysis, etc. And as you scroll down a little bit more, see, you remember we were talking about favicons and things, you can add them there. The site links, the extensions, the call out. Is there anything you wanted to jump out, like the location or the phone number? And this is and obviously Google's in it to obviously help you, but help themselves as well. So they'll make recommendations. And once you've done that, you press the next button. Then you come to here on the budget. So yeah, as you can see on the left-hand side, we've been through the bidding in terms of what we want to aim to do, campaign setting, keywords, and now we're on the budget. So once again, this is dependent on how much money you have to spend. If you're doing it for your own business or something, then obviously you're looking at it in one way. But if you're doing it for a client or for work, you need to find out what works budget is for you, because you're getting paid as an employee, so you're just spending a budget. However, if you're doing it for a client, remember you need to work out the cost of the ads, but also your fee as well. So if they say to you, I want to spend in total £800 a month or $1,000 a month, that includes everything, your fee and the cost per ads. So basically, whatever your cost of services is, include that. So then you can give them a rough estimate. So let's just say, like in this case, you're spending £64 a day. Average weekly cost is around this much, and then the average 9p a click. And then you can add on your fee and give it to the customer. Once again, it depends on the customer. And as I've just explained, it depends on which scenario you're working. Okay. And then once you've selected what you want, you can then go on to the next bits and press next. Once you press next, and you can see, as I mentioned, this is like my little bit of a play around account where I test things out. You would put your billing details. You would look at the recommendations they've given you, check your campaign name. It's a search ad that we set up. What is the goal, the bidding? And then once you've done that, so this is a page, you scroll lower down, it gives you more information, your keywords, budget, basically a nice overview of what your campaign's going to look like. You press publish and done. That is you setting up an ad. And then this is obviously back to your dashboard. And here is where you can look at things like your keywords and see audience, keywords, and content. So if you want to add negative keywords, if you want to add extra keywords, that's where you would do it. Then in terms of tracking performance, you would click on ads. So you can see here, oops, can you see here where it says campaigns? You'd click on campaigns, it'd give you a drop-down menu, and you'd look at the ads, and it would give you, and you can see this is pending, as I mentioned, because the account is slightly different. Like I say, it's not like I say, it's just a practice account. And this is where the figures would get updated. So once you've done that, look out for this green spot here. Green spot means that it's active and it's ready to run. And then, yeah, you would take it from there. And it gives you, once again, you can look at the performance over the last 30 days, last month, last few days, and you can see the amount of clicks, impressions, click-through rate. And this is why I have the different ads, because you can see which ad is performing the best, which keywords, which phrasing, and we have it like an internal competition. So in a nice way within my team, we'll have people who've done a bit of research. Some people prefer this, or some people prefer that. Preference based on the data, obviously. We're not just making things up. The data analysis and information is done, but based on that, we can still be subjective and want things to be written in a certain way or a different way. And this is where that competitive element within your teams comes up, or even within yourself. If you're running the adverts yourself, maybe you've tried one method for this and another method for that. See which one works best. And that's pretty much it. So that is how you would run Google Ads. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a little bit about it and do you a live demo. So let's go through it.